Okay, so to set up the camera, it's very simple. I'm just going to select my object here, and I'm going to take a free camera. And because I'm already in the top view, as soon as I click that camera out there, it's already facing the direction that I want. I'm just going to place it at 0 on the X, 0 on the Y, and say like 500 on the Z. It doesn't really matter about the Z because I'm going to do an orthographic projection. What orthographic means is, in this case, is that I'm just going to be rendering a flat scene. So the camera isn't going to detect any depth. This is something that is important because when you start layering flat objects, if your camera detects depth, then you're going to get some distortion and missizing of things that you may not have intended. So I've got that placed. I'm going to go into my options for it. Okay. Now, one thing I want to show you is if I go over here and I just right click there and I go show safe frame. The safe frame shows me exactly what I'm going to see in a render. Okay. So if I switch to camera view, that's everything that I'm going to see. Okay, and you always want to render from that camera. It's important that you have consistency because if you move your camera around when you're rendering, then your textures are going to be moving around. So once you've mapped them onto your model, you'd end up with a mess. So it's important that your camera always remains in the same place. As long as you remember that it was at 0 and 0 on the X and Y and 500 on the Z, well, then you're pretty much set. So there's this little checkbox here for orthographic projection. All you have to do is tick that off. Okay, I don't know if you guys could detect the pause, but my daughter and her friend are playing upstairs and they keep coming down and, hey, Mr. Ipkins, oh, hey, Dad. And so, anyhow, what I'm going to do is click on orthographic projection in this text box. What that does is give me that flat scene. And now all that I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the field of view down here. And I'm just going to pull back my field of view until, notice how I've got a little more here, but until I can that box is just at the edges. So it's almost there. I go a little further and now perfect. So my field of view when I render is the same size as that box. So I know what the boundaries of my texture map are. So now that I have that set up, I'm just going to turn off this safe frame and go to my top view, which I often work from. Notice how the camera's field of view is basically looking at that box. And I know when I'm making my textures to keep everything inside that box if I want it to be seen by the camera, right? So that's pretty much it. At this point I could start texturing, but I find something that's really helpful is to cut the chunks you want out of your model and import them into this scene so that you know exactly which area you want to work on. So that's what I'm going to show you now. But otherwise, if I render this out right now, whoops, I have to be in my camera view here. So I switch to my camera view. I just overwrite that. Bam, I have a 1024 by 1024 pixel texture of the color that I selected, and anything I put on that, it will now show. So in the next quick video, what I'll do is I'm going to hack up some parts of my model that my simple model that I made from the other scene, and merge them into this scene, make some textures for them, and then apply them.